Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. We're here on Tuesday, and because it's live, are here with part 2 of people pleasing. Today's talk is going to be about the cause and effect of people pleasing. Sorry, I had some stuff I had to do this morning, so literally just running and jumping on. So let's get started. Again, I pulled this up so I don't have to. I have a habit of feeling like I need to write everything down instead of just where I can read it off of the internet. So again, today is the cause and effect of people pleasing. It's part 2. Part 1 was interesting, and to me it was pretty good. So just for anybody who didn't see yesterday, I'm going to read just the characteristics of people that are people pleasers, and some may fit you, some may not. I'm also going to finish this up with, good morning, baby sibling, how are you? So anyways, as I mentioned, I'm just going to run over briefly the characteristics so that cause and effect does make sense. And I'm also going to talk about niceness versus people pleasing, because I think there is sort of a blurred line depending on the kind of person that you are. So I mean, people pleasing may just be with specific people, it may be with everybody, but it just may be a character trait. As a recovering people pleaser who continually falls off the wagon, I get it. So I did make some notes because yesterday I squirreled hard, and I mean I squirreled hard. So again, gonna read the characteristics, go over the cause and effect, niceness versus people pleasing, and the effect. When I say cause and effect, where it's basically going over one of the things that may cause people pleasing. So the characteristics from yesterday: you have a difficult time saying no. You are preoccupied with what other people might think. You feel guilty when you do tell people no. You fear that turning people down will make them think you are mean or selfish. You agree to things you don't like or do things you didn't want to do. Excuse me. You struggle with feelings of low self-esteem. You want people to like you and feel that doing things for them will earn their approval. And again, as I mentioned yesterday, you should not have to hustle for your worthiness. You're always telling people you're sorry. You take the blame even when something is not your fault. You never have any free time because you are always doing things for other people. You neglect your own needs in order to do things for others. And you pretend to agree with people even though you feel differently. So the definition of people pleasing in the Webster Dictionary is a person who has an emotional need to please others, often at the expense of their own desires or feelings. Also, having low self-esteem and low self-worth, having low self-worth and drawing self-esteem from others, while accommodating everyone else's needs while undermining their own. So, let's get to this. Causes of people pleasing. I want to remind everybody, I know I said I was going to put this in the comments yesterday, but the show ended up going on a lot longer than I intended it to. So I decided to break this down into 3 parts so I don't feel rushed and we can get through this and talk through this. So, after tomorrow, which should be day 3, because that will be the, sorry, my bangs. Those will be the tips to, move away from people pleasing, to kind of get into that mode of recovering people pleaser. I will put the link in the comments because I think everybody who's following this should read through this article. It is excellent. I'm not covering all their points because I do want to leave you something to read, but I'm covering all the meat of it. Okay. Now, a lot of times when we're in the thick of it, the meat of it, it just kind of hits our brain and then leaves. So hopefully it'll hit your brain, become like a little bit of a post-it note to remind you to read this and, read it all the way through. So in order to stop being a people pleaser, it is important to understand some of the reasons why you might be engaging in this kind of behavior. So there are a lot of different things that can cause this. We're going to get to some of the other, more, not just the effects of people pleasing, but the triggers, kind of. So the past experiences of things, which is actually on here. So poor self-esteem. Sometimes people engage in people-pleasing behavior because they don't value their own desire and needs. Due to a lack of self-confidence, people pleasers have a need for external validation, and they may feel that doing things for others will lead to approval and acceptance. And again, to me, that is hustling for your worthiness. And you have to ask yourself, should you be hustling for your worthiness? Is this worth it? Is this, if it is, that's fine. I want to preface this, okay? Because yesterday I made it a point I kept telling older sibling, did you notice when I did this? Or did you notice when I was looking at the screen? Because I knew she was watching. I'm not directing this at anybody. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, all right? Because I do have some people that are popping on live. This is not directed at anyone. This is more of a getting you to think about the behaviors and whether or not you might be someone who is a people pleaser. I do know people who are people pleasers, and I recognize it because I'm one. And like I said, I'm trying, when I say I'm a recovering people pleaser, it means I'm really trying to find my self-worth so I don't feel like I have to put my worth in other people's hands. And I personally believe that our poor self-esteem is why we do that. We are pouring from an empty cup because we're constantly trying to be validated, approved of, felt worthy by somebody else. We are sticking our worth in someone else's hands when it should only be in our hands. Every compliment, every, act of kindness or whatever that comes towards you, it should be more of a bonus feeling, that extra feeling that, wow, this is great, and I love it. And this is so wonderful. But when you're when you're pouring from an empty cup, you will do things for people. You will sit there and go, baby sibling, so cute. So anyways, yeah, me too. Hi, I'm a recovering people pleaser. But when we do these things, when we put our value in somebody else's hands, when we try to do things so randomly, act those random acts of kindness, those small gestures and this and that, and we're doing it from an empty cup, the minute they go away, that feeling will dissipate with them. It's like the farther away they get, the tighter that string gets until it breaks and you're left still feeling empty. That's why our self-worth, our self-esteem, our self-awareness, our self-value has to come from within. We have to show ourselves that we are worthy of all these wonderful, beautiful things in life. Yeah, life isn't easy. I know. It's like sometimes it's a straight up shit show. Okay? Let's be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat this anymore. I thought about the perspective the other day when I was coming up with the idea of people pleasing, and I'll be 100% honest with you. The reason I'm doing this subject now is because the last month or the last couple of weeks, and maybe even the last half a year of perspectives have not been necessarily things I wanted to talk about, but what I thought other people wanted to hear. And it's hard to talk on a message when you're forcing it. And I think that's why I needed that break, because I realized I'm not being my authentic self. And I thought, well, people don't want to always hear about my crap. People don't always want to hear about my life or my story or this. But I started realizing every self-help book, yes, I've read them because I've needed them. Most of them that I have been recommended by my therapists. And I don't have more than one at a time, but over the course of the years, I've had two very great ones, and they both have, basically given me homework, not suggested, told me to get these books. And I realized they're talking about themselves too. But it's not narcissism. People will be like, oh yeah, this person's just writing about themselves, this, that, and the other. No, they're making themselves relatable so that when we read these books, it's not so technical. It's not so, well, this is your step 1 through 7 on how to be a better person, or how to find your self-worth, or how to find your self-love. You are a better person. You just don't see it because we're lacking in our self-worth and we're lacking in our self-love because we're not attending to our self-care. And so they make themselves relatable. They put themselves in situations where, they're trying to show you, hey, I see you, I get you. And this is what happened to me. This is what's happened around me. And so I realized that in order to have my authentic voice, I have to be my authentic self. And in doing so, I had to address the one thing that always seems to stand in my way, and that is that I am a people pleaser. You know, when you walk into a anonymous meeting, you know, I've never been to one. I don't have a problem with substances. I do have a problem with emotional eating, but you don't sit there and say, I am a recovering so-and-so. They just say, you know, my name is so-and-so, and you can see it on TV shows, right? Like the show Mom. My name is so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic. And because they know that every day is a day of recovery. Every day is a baby step. It's one day at a time. And that makes so much sense. So, you know, but I do say to other people, yeah, I'm a recovering people pleaser. You know, I'm not out there going, yeah, I'm a people pleaser, take advantage of me. No, it's saying I am trying to show people that I am starting to see my self-worth, that I am starting to see my value, that I'm trying to raise my self-esteem and make myself, you know, shine like we should all be able to shine. My biggest trip ups lately has been going onto social media and seeing all this negative stuff and all these people who are just so mean and angry, and, you know, especially all the politics, right? Where people are just so mean and angry. And I had to remind myself today, don't reply. Just sit there and go, you know what? This is why we need to put our love in this world. So poor self-esteem, it can, you know, it is looking for that external validation. The poor self-esteem is trying to fill your cup with somebody else's joy that you created for them. And, you know, in the moment they appreciate it, maybe they don't later, I don't know. But like I said, I just saw that older sibling came on, so I'm just going to reiterate one part for her. I'm not here to point fingers at anybody, because as older sibling has always told me, when you point one finger, there are three pointing back at you, asking if you should be pointing that finger. So it's not about fixing other people. This isn't aimed at anybody. This is, if you are resonating with any of this message, then it's for you. If you're not, then that's okay. It's something you can probably help somebody else with. But yeah, we're in this together. We're in this, you know, as a team. You know, whether I've met you or not, we're in this as a team, because people pleasing is something that we have to stop doing. So the next one is insecurity. In other cases, people might try to please others because they worry that other people won't like them if they don't go above and beyond to make them happy. That's where I used to fall. You know, I mean, it was also a lot of, you know, I would take the blame, like when a very, very, very close person of mine we'd knock heads a lot. Not anyone I dated. It was one of my soul sisters. Okay. One of my soul sisters, we would knock heads all the time. And I'm not saying this because I'm perfect, because I am absolutely not perfect. 9 times out of 10, I did not start it. It was something that was said. There was a trigger because there was a lot of trauma there, and I would become the punching bag. What I didn't do was stop it. Until eventually everybody's in tears, everybody's fighting, nobody's making sense, everyone's going in circles. No, you know, no one is, you know, stepping up to be the adult in the conversation, and all of a sudden I'm taking the blame for it. Because I just wanted to stop. I just wanted to end. And so insecurity can cause us to do these things too. Insecurity is making us hustle for our worthiness. If people don't see you right away, it doesn't mean they won't see you later. If people don't see you in this moment, that doesn't mean they won't see you later. But you should not have to hustle for your worthiness. You should not have to sit there and go, see me, because I'm doing all these wonderful things for you, and I want you to love me, and I want you to like me. And because what if they come into your life and they're a bunch of dicks? So you're fighting for something that may not even pan out that well. If something's meant for you, it will be in your life. Whether you planted a seed a while ago and it's finally taking root, or if, you know, it's just not meant to come back into your life. Nobody knows, right? Every day is a mystery. Every day that we wake up is a new mystery. I mean, yeah, if, you know, we go and do our everyday things, we go and do this, but what happens in between all this stuff that is already set in stone? That's the mystery. That's the glory of it all. Good things happen, bad things happen. Sometimes really shitty things happen, but sometimes really amazing things happen. So look towards the amazing stuff, okay? Do your best to look towards the amazing stuff. Perfectionism. Sometimes people want everything to be just so, including how other people think and feel. I think so. I think that's I'm struggling with this one just because, I don't know. Maybe I'm struggling with this one because that might have been me too. That's control, right? They say perfectionism, but I think in parentheses, there should be the word control. And not controlling. I mean, trying to control a situation because you've had what is past experiences is coming up next. And honestly, I think those two are going to go together. So I'm going to read this together. Sometimes people want everything to be just so, including how other people think and feel. Past experiences. Painful, difficult, or traumatic experiences may also play a role. People who have experienced abuse, for example, may try to please others and be as agreeable as possible in order to avoid triggering abusive behavior in others. And honestly, that's perfectionism. They're trying to control the situation because they do not want to feel the feeling that's coming up. Some people lash out, other people shut down. Some people open up and say, hey, I need to heal this because they have moved through a lot of their healing, a lot of their self-worth. Other people say, no, I've got to control this because I need them to think the way I want them to think and I need them to do the things I want them to do because I can't step out of my own box. So I want everyone to be in my box. And to be honest with you, your box should have no walls. So basically, it should not be a box. Eventually that one's going to come around and make sense. But we shouldn't be standing in a box. We should be standing in the open with the people next to us who are allowed to do whatever the hell they want to do. Okay? To be whoever they want to be their authentic selves. Yeah, there's a lot of self-help people out there who don't swear. I swear. I can't help it. It's something I do. People say you can't help it. Well, I can, but I don't want to because I like it. That's just me. It's me. My mouth knows when to behave. But this is my show. And anybody's welcome to come on. Everybody's welcome to participate when it comes to the live. But I don't want to hide who I am anymore. And I realize now that, oh my God, perfectionism does lie in there. I was talking about how I've had to kind of maintain my balance because of the screw up in my medical. So I haven't been on my thyroid medicine and I haven't been on my select, well, I'm not going to say it out loud because, I'm not an advertiser, and my antidepressant. I have not. And both of those can affect my mood. So I've really had to try to balance this stuff. And I realized in all of that, because baby sibling and I were talking about this last week, and I told her, I said, I had this huge epiphany. What if this was meant to happen as sort of a spiritual awakening for me? And it has been, because I've had to go in deep, because I was losing my shit every day. Not in a rageful way, like in the old days when I was a hurt person hurting people. My anxiety was peaking so bad that it's like I would either shut down or I would, scream into a pillow so I didn't yell at somebody. Or I would just get, very short-tempered and be like, well, what? What do you want? Because I was so overwhelmed. Because my perfectionism was cracking at the seams. All these things that were holding me together, they were holding me together incorrectly. I told baby sibling, I said, I can't wait to get back on my meds and find out how different I'm going to be. When my moods are a little bit more in control, because I'm already starting to become in control. They're just going to take the proverbial edges off. And of course my thyroid will be running better. So yay, that's a big one for my heart. But so is the antidepressant. The antidepressant isn't just because I was diagnosed with depression years ago. It's because my heart can, I have a repaired heart. And my heart is running great. My heart is doing great. But my doctor wants to make sure it keeps running that way. So in order to do that, it takes the edge off the anxiety, which causes the stress that can damage my heart. We want to keep Shelly's ticker running well. I named her Penelope. Did I tell anybody that? I said I was going to name her just to kind of remind me that I really have to pay attention to my health and taking care of her. So my heart's name is Penelope. Don't know why, just sounded cute. So I got to make sure Penelope's running okay because we got to keep her from being stressed. And thyroid, an underactive thyroid can also affect your heart. So now you got your little side tips there, all right? But I'm realizing now that I think part of the reason I struggled so much yesterday during yesterday's show is because those three fingers were pointing right back at me, saying, you need to take a good look at this, because you say you're a recovering people pleaser, but you're still doing so many of these things. You know, there are times when I choose to be okay with things because I figure, hey, it's an adventure. I'll try something new. And I'm not good at trying something new because, like I said, it's my box and everybody should be living in it. But I, in this moment, am attesting to all of you now who are watching, whether it's now live or later, I'm taking a sledgehammer to these fucking walls and I'm tearing these motherfuckers down. Period. Because I don't want to live in this box anymore. It's too constricting. It's too painful, it's too hurtful, and I shouldn't have to hustle for my worthiness. If you want to be in my life, you're welcome to be in it. If you're going to damage it, if you're going to destroy it, I will promptly show you where the door is. I will draw a door for you to walk out of. Okay? Because I don't need to deal with low vibrations. I'm here to spread love and light with a lot of other people, thousands, millions of us out there, combating all this darkness, all this negativity. And, you know, I'm going to read you guys something that I wrote the other day about that. And I'm going to finish the show off with that. And probably, I can hear baby sibling now if she's still on. You need to make that into a reel. But anyways, so those are the past experiences, okay? We are going to try to control things, perfectionism, so that we don't trigger those abusive behaviors from others. Now, I like this part. This part is kind of in between the cause and effects of people pleasing, because like I said at the beginning, there is kind of a line that might get blurred sometimes between kindness and people pleasing. So this is the first paragraph that kind of talks about it. And then there is actually one dedicated to niceness versus people pleasing. But the motivation to help others can sometimes be a form of altruism. A person might genuinely want to make sure that other people have the help that they need. In other cases, this was the interesting part, in other cases, people pleasing can be a way to feel validated or liked by making sure that people are happy. They feel as if they are useful and valued. If you have wonderful friends who love you, who don't judge you, who check in on you, who make sure you are okay, those are the people, my hair, those are the people that you want in your life. Those are the people that you want to keep. Those are the people who see your value and don't make you have to hustle for it. Okay, there. How's that? There we go. Tamed. They are tamed. And they won't make you hustle for your value. They won't make you hustle for your worth. They just say, hey, I see you and I love you because we get along. We have an amazing time. We go off and we just enjoy the world. You know, we enjoy our days, our time together. So, you need to discern where these people fall in your life. And that's not for me to judge. It's not for me to say, hey, you got to get rid of people. No. Everybody's journey takes them in whatever direction it's going to take them, because every single journey is different. No family tree grows the same. No tree of life grows the same. Everybody's is different. And okay, so effects of people pleasing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Being a concerned, caring person is one thing. But the problem is if you are trying to win approval in order to shore up weak self-esteem, or if you are pursuing the happiness of others at the expense of your own emotional well-being. Are you a person who is working so hard to make somebody better that you are forgetting to focus on yourself? In order to help other people, we have to help ourselves first. Look at it this way. Every time you get on an airplane, right? For those of you, and believe it or not, I have met people who have not flown on a plane, and it kind of blew my mind, but it was like, whoa. And they're very few and far between, but I have met people, and it's just like, or been on a plane for the first time in their life, right? But think of it this way. When you get on the plane and they're giving you all the instructions, they say in case of an emergency, those things will, the oxygen masks will pop out of the wall or pop out from above you, right? The first thing they tell you is put your mask on first, then put it on the child. Because the child's not going to know what to do if they're too young, right? But they're going to look at you. So if you're sitting there and you're struggling to breathe because you're so panicky about your child not breathing, you're going to pass out, and you're both going to pass out, and you both it might not end well. I mean, that's the extreme. But the whole point is you have to put your mask on first and then put it on the other person. whether it's a child or a disabled person that you might be traveling with that may have limited mobility. You have to take care of you first so that you are not pouring from an empty cup. I don't like saying the word serving from an empty cup, because you're not serving anybody. You are not in servitude to anyone but yourself. And the question is, what are you serving yourself? You know, I tend to be the kind of person, and this isn't about anything other than, you know, well, no, that's not a good example, so I'm going to skip that one. But I tend to be a person who used to put everyone else's needs above my own. And sometimes I still do. And I'm learning how not to, because it's not their fault. It's my choice, because I don't want people to get mad. I want everyone to be happy. And in some way, yes, I'm trying to control the situation. I'm getting ahead of things before they can go bad. But sometimes we get ahead of things and we might be missing something. We might be missing an opportunity. We might be missing anything because we're trying to get ahead of something that hasn't happened yet. That's why we have to go with the flow. Go in love. Go in peace. Go in, you know, your self-worth and your self-value and your growing self-esteem. So when we do these things, though, when we try to get ahead of something that hasn't happened yet, it can cause the first effect of people pleasing. Now, I'm sure there's many more than this, but these are the ones in the article. Anger and frustration. While you might actually enjoy helping, you are also bound to experience frustration when you are doing things reluctantly or out of obligation. These feelings can lead to a cycle of helping someone, feeling mad at them for taking advantage, and then feeling regretful or sorry for yourself. Now, the thing is, they may not be taking advantage of you at all. That may be a projection of the fact that, you know, you're trying to get ahead of something. And so, you know, you're sitting there going, oh, well, they're doing this to me. No, you're doing it to yourself. If you were there to help somebody, wait until they need something. You know, I mean, ask them, hey, because, you know, I live in a house with two people pleasers, me and older sibling. And so sometimes I have to ask her, are you okay? Do you need anything? And especially on her flare-up days. So, you know, and usually she's okay. She'll get up and do it herself. Sometimes we'll sit there and go, well, I'll do it because I got a cat on me, right? We each have a cat. Sibling has a cat. I have a cat. I mean, they're both the house cats, but they both migrate to either lap like clockwork. So, you know, we have to ask ourselves, am I doing this because I'm being altruistic? Or am I doing this because I'm trying to get ahead of the situation? Or I want to do it so I can relax? You know, the perfectionism, right? The control. So again, while you might actually enjoy helping people, which I do, I love helping people, you are also bound to experience frustration when you are doing things reluctantly or out of obligation. These feelings can lead to a cycle of helping someone, feeling mad at them for taking advantage, and then feeling regretful or sorry for yourself. One study found that people with a strong need to please others were also more prone, I just read this for the first time, to overeating in social situations. Oh my God, see? Me trying to get ahead of so many dumb things that haven't even been created yet, haven't even been thought of or put onto this planet yet to be in my path, is causing me to have another bad behavior. Well, I shouldn't say bad. That's really kind of stigmatizing it. But to have another unfortunate behavior, however you want to put it, it's bad in my eyes. So the next one, wow, that was an eye-opener. See, I'm learning along right with you guys. Next one, anxiety and stress. Efforts to keep other people happy can stretch your own physical and mental resources too thin. Trying to manage it all can leave you plagued with stress and anxiety, which can have detrimental effects on your health. Stress. Helping other people can actually have a number of mental health benefits, but not leaving time for yourself means you might end up experiencing the negative health consequences of excess stress. I'm just going to say this right now. There's somebody I'm looking at. You know who you are. That it may or may not, this may or may not happen, that I may or may not have been talking to last night. So anyways, but I get it. I'm bringing light to the people that are on here live. Okay. I'm bringing light to the people that are on here live. So, but yeah, it can cause that negative health consequence. We have to take care of self-care. Self-care. The reason I made this a 3-part series and broke it down into 3 parts is because tomorrow the tips on stopping people pleasing comes on Self-Care Wednesday. Ta-da! So, the next one, depleted willpower. Devoting all your energy and mental resources toward making sure that others are happy means you are less likely to have the resolve and willpower to tackle your own goals. Some research suggests that willpower and self-control may be limited resources. If you are using mental resources to make sure that other people have what they want or need, it might mean that you simply have little left to devote to your own needs. So, research is research, right? I do believe in science. I also believe in metaphysical stuff and spiritual stuff. And I believe together they actually make a bigger, wider argument for a lot of things, because research is constantly changing. Research is like, one day caffeine is okay, the next day caffeine is not. One day having a glass of beer or wine a day is great. The next day it's not. Having an egg or 2 is bad for you. Then 2 days later it's okay. You see my point? I could go on forever, right? I could go on forever. So think of these things as willpower and self-control. Maybe they're not the limited resources that we think they are, but the ignored resources that they are. We are not managing our self-control because we're so busy trying to manage other people. We are not managing our willpower or our self-control because we're so busy trying to take care of people over here. So all the different things that we are trying to do self-control with or trying to manage on either side of us is causing us to just, like that little mind-blown emoji, right? Where poof, just that big old mushroom cloud above their head, because it is a lot. It is too much. And it's going to cause you to just want to, lay down in the corner of your room with the lights off and cry or yell or scream or just fall apart, because we can only take so much. And sometimes we get to this point where we feel broken, where we feel like we've just fallen to pieces, where we feel like we've hit bottom, because sometimes hitting that bottom, boom, really hard is how we find our way back up. It's to remind us that, you know what? I can keep digging, or I can figure my way out of this. And you don't want to keep digging. You want to find your way out of this, because if you got there, you can get out of it. You just have to trust yourself, and you have to take care of yourself. So lack of authenticity. Shelley Marie, all fingers are pointed in this direction. People pleasers often hide their own needs and preferences in order to accommodate other people. This can make it feel as if you're not living your life authentically. It may even leave you feeling as if you don't know yourself at all. This is exactly what I was talking about when it came to the perspective. I don't know if anybody noticed, but since probably September, maybe earlier than that, there was a difference in the perspectives and vibes I had done before, where I was kind of grasping at straws and trying to find things to talk about, because I didn't want to offend people. I didn't want to hurt people. I didn't want to feel like, oh, well, all I do is talk about myself. Well, you know what? Consider me a live version of a self-help book. Okay? I am relating my experiences. I'm relating my traumas. I'm relating all the different things that I go through on numerous occasions, on many days, so that people can relate, so people can understand, because that's what helped me. People that I follow on Twitter in a mental health community, their experiences, they're sharing, they're being open about all themselves, they're being so authentic and raw, even in their pain, helped me see what I needed to see in myself, helped me motivate myself to want to be a healed person, who wanted to be that person who is digging out all this crap that hurts. Yeah, it hurts. My first sessions of therapy in 2017, it was 6 months of intensive therapy. I mean, there were times when I left that I wasn't even sure I could walk to my car. I was so broken. And I realized, because at the very beginning, I told my therapist, I said, I know I'm going to fall apart. I know I'm going to break. And she says, that's why we're here, to put you back together the way you want to be put back together, the way you feel you should be. And I still think there were a lot of bits of inauthenticity. That a word? Inauthenticity? It is now. Shelley Marie has coined a word if it is not a word. I'm sure it is. But anyways, because I just wanted people to like me. I just wanted to be loved. I wanted people to see me. I didn't want people to see what I see in the mirror. You know, that this person that people make fun of behind my back because I may not fit society's standards of what a good-looking person might be like or might look like. My therapist now, she gets mad at me all the time. Why aren't you dating? Well, because no one wants this. And she's like, how do you know? She knows how to put me back in my place. I love her. I just shout out to her. Okay, my medical should be back by March and I cannot wait to see her. I might even break protocol and ask her if I can get a hug because it's been a traumatic 4 months trying to go through all this stuff. And when I say traumatic, I mean because I'm putting the word on it now, the perfectionism, the control. I need to let that go. I need to realize that while I'm sitting here preaching, hey, you got to go with the flow. You got to go in love. You got to just go one day at a time, one moment at a time. I was not doing that. I wasn't. I'm still not. I'm still learning. I still need to remind myself to do these things. The new book I'm reading is great by Pam Grout. It's wonderful. I mean, my favorite part of the whole title of the book is Unabashed Joy. Shameless and Unabashed Joy. It's great. It's a great, I mean, that's just the subtitle of the title. And it's just like, wow, that's what I want. Shameless and unabashed joy. I want to be so happy that people love it or hate it, and I don't care. If you hate it, it's because there's something in you that is gnawing at you that needs to be healed. So the rest of the lack of authenticity is hiding your true feelings makes it difficult for other people to get to know the real you. Self-disclosure is important in any close relationship, but it isn't effective if you aren't disclosing your true self. Just be yourself. I know easier said than done, but that is one of the things I've gotten a hold of really hard and tight. Just be yourself. And I don't mean how I've been not as authentic in my shows, but I mean when I'm out there meeting people, you're either going to like me or you're not. And every day I make that resolve in myself stronger. You were going to like me or you were not. Baby Sibling and I were talking about some people who I had a falling out with some time ago because there was some drama surrounding our circle, and there were some people that, you know, well, let me put it this way. The person in question in the center of this entire circle of trauma and drama going on in this circle was the person that I knew needed the most support. And, you know, I'm not going to elaborate on that. If you're watching this, you know who you are. And that was the person I know needed me. And because of my defense of this person, a couple family members, you know, decided that, well, one, I just cut out. The other one said, you know what? You're not worth my time. And these are people that I had a deep respect for at once. You know, one of them, I had no idea what they were really like. The other one, it's like, I was hurt. I grieved that. I grieved that loss. And, you know, I was recently talking to somebody the other day, and I asked them, I said, can you tell me if, you know, this conversation that I had while on the phone with somebody else, and I could hear them in the background, was authentic or fake? And they're all, you know, they didn't want to tell me, but they're all, you know what, discerning from their own way that they know how to discern things, they told me it was fake. And after that conversation, I wanted to cry. And then I thought, you know what? No. The first thing that I wanted to do was cry, but why? Because I'm hustling for my worthiness for someone that doesn't deserve it? No. No, I'm a good person. Okay, I mean, I have my bad moments. We're all good people. We're all good people being humans. We're going to have bad moments. We're going to have shitty times. We're going to have fucked up times. We're going to have a shit show of a day sometimes. But those are circumstances. They're not who we are. They're things we have to weed through. They're things we have to go through. They're obstacles that we have to hurdle sometimes. But as long as your good times are outnumbering your bad times, you're doing okay. You know, that's straight out of one of the books I wrote. And that's something that I got to remind myself, because that phrase ends up in my book so many different times. Just a story I wrote. But that's what the guy always says to her, who she's a constant worrier, right? But he's also very closed off. I know it's that kind of book, but you know, it was in my head and it was very cathartic for me to write. So I'm not going to apologize for it. But, whoops. I don't know what's happening. I think my pop socket needs to be fixed. But there, yeah, now you're trying to see down my shirt. Hold on one second. Let me fix this really quick. So I know sometimes people, I'm curious, I think some people might see this. There's a bunny that I keep up there, and I can't remember his name, but a friend of mine drew that and had her own little art show, and I fell in love with that bunny. So I bought him and brought him home, and I keep it up there very proudly because it's a reminder that when you pursue your dreams, you can make anything happen. You know, so I know I keep it a little bit lower, but just because you don't need to see all that crap above my head. So anyways, that's that about that. Weaker relationships. This is the last one in effects of people pleasing. So we've gone through anger and frustration, anxiety and stress, depleted willpower, lack of authenticity, and now weaker relationships. If you're putting all of your efforts into making sure that you meet other people's expectations, you may find yourself feeling resentful. While people might appreciate your giving nature, they also may begin to take your kindness and attentiveness for granted. People may not realize they are taking advantage of you. All they know is that you are always willing to lend a hand, so they have no doubt that you'll show up whenever you're needed. What they may not see is how thin you are stretched and how overcommitted you might be. So that's a big one, right? I think that's a lot of people, and a lot of people who may not feel like they're a people pleaser, but fall under that because, you know, I talked about people I've known that were just constantly take, and I would just give and give and give and give and give. And I had to learn to set boundaries because it was making me frustrated. And then it was one of those, I had a work relationship once, not a relationship like that, but a coworker friendship. And after, I was laid off from my job, this person says, well, I guess we can be friends again now. Funny thing was, I never thought we weren't friends because every time at work, this person needed something. I had to do it for him. Now you're saying, no, you didn't. But in my mind, I did because I didn't want them to be upset because I thought they were my friend and I thought I was doing them a favor. And then I told them, but at this point when they said this, something had already clicked in me and said, that's funny. I always thought we were friends. She's like, well, you know, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, those were your behaviors towards me. You were bullying me all the time. And she was. There was legit workplace bullying. Now you're saying, Shelly Marie, how could you still be friends with this person? Because I learned to set boundaries. And tomorrow we're going to talk about that because that is one of the tips to stop people pleasing. The first one, establish boundaries. And I did that. But also, I came out straight out and thought, you know what? I don't care. If this person wants to be in my life, I'm not going to hustle for my worthiness. I didn't say it at that time because I didn't have that phrase. But I sat there and said to myself, I am not going to beg for somebody's friendship. If you want to be in my life, this is how it goes. We have to have a mutual respect of one another. And I pointed out their behaviors and they're like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. But one of the reasons why I never gave up on this person is because they had enough stresses in their own life. So I realized they weren't being mean to me just for kicks and shits and giggles. They were being, you know, kind of the way they were because they were projecting onto me. They were transferring their emotions onto me. And it's because I took it. But I told them, I didn't tell them that part because not everybody understands that part. But I said, look, if you're upset about something, come and talk to me. Don't pick on me so that you can get it out of your system. I have done that. I have been the hurt people that hurt people. Or hurt people, right? Hurt people, hurt people. And I was a hurt people who hurt people. And I don't want to be that person anymore because there's a lot of shame and guilt that goes along with that. And a lot of bad behaviors that can come out of that shame and guilt. So let's talk about niceness versus people pleasing. There is a distinction between doing things to be nice and doing things because you're a people pleaser. People often do nice things for a range of reasons: to feel good, to help, to return a favor, or to earn a favor. If you're doing something because you are afraid that you'll be disliked or rejected if you say no, there's a strong chance that people pleasing is at work. So when we do things to feel good, when we do things to help or return a favor or earn a favor, that's the niceness, you know. And remember, if you're going to do something to feel good or to help someone or to return that favor for something that somebody did for you, make sure that you are pouring from that full cup. Make sure that your worthiness is intact. Don't do it to feel good because you're feeling, I mean, maybe you do need a pick me up. This is why I said the niceness versus people pleasing, even they in their own way acknowledge here that there's a very, very fine line, that there is a blurred line in there. So, it can get a little confusing, right? It can be a little, I don't know, that blurred line thing. So just discern with yourself. If you are sitting there and somebody says, hey, can you help me with this? Maybe you're sitting there, you have this wonderful evening planned, and, you just want to, I don't know, you just want to chill, right? We talked about this yesterday in the show. You want to chill and Netflix. Okay? You have your whole spray of stuff that you have ready for you so you don't have to move unless you have to pee. And then somebody says, hey, I need you. I want to talk to you right now. It can't wait. It's imperative. And then, you talk to them or they do something and then it just ends up in some kind of shouting match, right? Or, somebody says, well, it can't wait till tomorrow, when it can wait till tomorrow, because they want it done now, but they know it can wait until the next day. You have to learn to say no. We're going to talk about these things tomorrow on Self-Care Wednesday, because that is about setting boundaries. That is about tips to, stop people pleasing. So let's go over this one last time. The causes of people pleasing. Poor self-esteem, insecurity, perfectionism / controlling things, past experiences, effects of people pleasing, anger and frustration, anxiety and stress, depleted willpower, lack of authenticity, and weaker relationships. And then, of course, we have the niceness versus people pleasing. So there was something in here that I read that I found interesting, and I think it might be farther down, so we might save it for tomorrow. But it also said, it talked about, I really kind of wanted to find it because it was interesting what I read. And it talked about how sometimes people will do the people-pleasing thing, again, because, they don't want their behaviors or their thing, something triggered, to avoid that trigger. We have to just kind of discern what people-pleasing is versus where our kindness is coming from. It even said that people-pleasers will try to be a mediator in arguments because they don't want everyone to be mad. That they just want everyone to be happy because they don't want to be triggered. Because, they maybe it's triggering something from when there was a situation they couldn't control, right? Couldn't take care of, that may not have been even theirs to handle. So they will sit there and they will try to mediate experiences and issues that might be happening right in front of them. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not coming from an altruistic place. Because genuinely, there are people who are out there that just want to say, hey, sit down and talk about this. I do know people who toe that line. Their toes are, they're straddling that line on both sides, going, I can't have this happening, but also I want them to be okay. And, yeah, that's where the line gets blurred. But, you can't fault these people for that either, because for the most part, that if someone's willing to step in between in the middle of a fight, it's just because they want everyone to be happy. They want everything to be sunshine and roses. And yeah, we all know nothing is really sunshine and roses, right? Even that person stepping in the middle of it. But that person stepping into the middle of it, 9 times out of 10 is saying, this isn't worth it. You're going to regret this in about 10 minutes. And 5 if security sees you. I can't tell you how many times I've had to not literally clothesline older sibling at hockey games, but I've literally been able to just grab her by the hood of her hoodie that's under her jersey, because, there was one time I had to do this because just out of my peripheral, I had to grab her because she was about to step in between 2 people who were way taller than both of us who were about to come to blows. Fortunately, I grabbed her, and fortunately, security heard it, so they got there first anyways. But she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, are you insane? it's like the security standing right there. Let them handle this. It's like, you are not a, you're not a giant person. You're not a giant person. I've got to fix this. Sorry, I've got to fix this thing on my phone. So anyways, that's that for that. So I told you I wanted to finish with something that I wrote the other day, and it was something I was falling asleep to, so hopefully it makes some sense. It just popped into my head. But I wrote this: if it makes you angry, show it patience. If you hate it, show it love. Meeting anger with anger and hate with hate has gotten us nowhere. People will say it's dumb to spread love because nothing will ever change, but I think the naivete lies within the person who thinks change is impossible. One thought can cause many ripples. Remember that. The reason I wanted to write that and share that here is that I think our inability to stop people pleasing keeps us from really kind of showing our authentic self. There was a time when I was first starting out on this journey where I really wanted to be that person that didn't get angry over everything, that didn't want to be that hurt person hurting people anymore. I'm going to pause this for a second because older sibling says they weren't there at the time. Security was nearby. She just didn't see them. I did. I just have really good peripheral. But she's also very hyper-focused on things when she sees something going wrong, going down. So anyways, I got to hurry this up because this pop socket's not going to hold on much longer. I need to find a better stand for my phone. Let's face it. But anyways, I talked about the inauthenticity of how I've been doing the show recently until the last couple of weeks, where, especially in the last couple of days, where I really realized that, hey, I've got to nip this in the bud and I have got to go back to being who I am, because that's where the impact is made. That's where I can share myself and share who I really am. And I wanted to share what I wrote because I think a lot of times we want to spread that light and love, but we'll only do it to people that we know are receptive. You don't have to teach anybody anything, okay? You can speak your truth, and if it resonates, they'll learn from it. If it doesn't, they need to go on their merry way, and eventually when it's time for them to hit their healing point, if they ever get to that point, they will hear it from somebody else. But we shouldn't have to hide who we are. We shouldn't have to hide our own beliefs. You know, one of the things that makes me proud about my family is, yeah, sometimes they tease me about my stuff, but you know, because it's a mindset that they're not used to. But my cousins that are closer to my age, they tell me, wow, you know, I like your show. I watch your show from time to time. I don't always get to see it, but when I see it, I know it's the message it's meant for me that day. And they're proud of me for just kind of sharing my truth. They're proud of me for being who I am. They're proud of me for not backing down when other people want to make fun of me, when other people think that it's okay, you know, to just put me down or whatever. And they will back me 100%. Baby sibling, older sibling. You know, my dad doesn't always understand everything I do, but he respects me for it. You know, he shows me that he's proud. I mean, he's still amazed that I can just look at notes and come up off the cuff with some of this stuff. So, I think, yeah. So I want everyone to remember that. Just be yourselves, okay? If you are trying to spread that love and light, it might take baby steps to get to where, you know, I'm at. I still have baby steps to take to get to where other people are at, because I'm not always comfortable with it. And I do sometimes I don't want to fight with people. I don't want to argue with people. I don't want to deal with trolls who will sit there and just go, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're a fucking idiot, whatever. I pick my battles when I can. When I know I can handle it and just not lose my shit, I might, which is probably not a good thing. But I do my best to not post stuff that'll be controversial, because I don't want to deal with it, because it does ruin my vibe. And until my vibe can kick it without wanting to kick someone, I need to do that for my own sanity. So that's why I come from the place that I come from now, where it's just, I just don't want to deal with it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for me. So I've seen those people. I've been sometimes where they're at, not to the degree that some of them are at. Some of them are just there because, I don't know, they either get a kick out of being an asshole or there's a lot of pain inside of them. There's no in between. They're one or the other. But we get to choose if we want to interact. And we get to choose if we want to be like that. And I would suggest that no. I'm going to read this one last time and then I'm out. So if it makes you angry, show it patience. If you hate it, show it love. Let me hold this up. If you hate it, show it love. Meeting anger with anger and hate with hate has gotten us nowhere. People will say it's dumb to spread love because nothing will ever change. But I think the naivete lies within the person who thinks change is impossible. Sorry, I didn't realize that was turning. Who thinks change is impossible. One thought can cause many ripples. Remember that, all right? So have a great, great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Anybody can watch on the Aloha Perspective. I also do a shorter version of this on TikTok under the Aloha Perspective. And if you miss these and want to watch them later and you have trouble finding the Facebook page, you can also catch me on YouTube under the Aloha Perspective. Have a great day.